And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we do get into today's video, as always, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. So I hope you are all well, guys. There's a lot to go through in today's video. We have some big transfer news to discuss, as contact has been made with a goalkeeper to replace Joe Hart for the start of next season. Of course, Joe Hart announced his retirement back in February. He's hanging up his gloves, hanging up his boots, if you will. And yeah, so since February, we've been linked to a lot of different names from across Europe and even outside of Europe as well to potentially replace the veteran keeper. So we'll discuss all that in just a few minutes. I do want to start today's video by going over the Scottish Cup final, of course. We know we're taking on Rangers now on May 25th on the Saturday. Kickoff time is 3 PM and it will stay 3 PM. So it was announced, of course, when Manchester United basically skimped past Coventry City in the penalty shootout, that final will take place on May 25th on the Saturday at 3 PM, which is the exact same time, exact same date as the Scottish Cup final. Now, last year when this happened, the BBC moved the timings due to get more viewership across both games to 5:30 for the Scottish Cup final, but that won't be the case this year, as the SFA have confirmed the timings will stay the same for the Scottish Cup final this season, which is very, very interesting. Now, it's not a massive deal for a lot of fans, but of course, if you were able to watch both games, you may have to get dual screen going in your house with the FA Cup in England and the Scottish Cup in with Celtic and Rangers. But for me, of course, I know which one I'm watching. I'm watching the Celtic versus Rangers one, but it definitely is good news for the fans attending the match at Hampden for sure. I mean, last year there were a little bit of issues with the, of course, late kickoff and then the fans going home quite late and stuff like that. So definitely better news for the fans that are attending the match at Hampden for sure. And I think overall it's not a massive deal, and it's quite surprising really. I did think they maybe might postpone it or push it back a few hours just to make way for the FA Cup final in England. But there's no reason we should have to move our timings around for them for sure, because of course our timings were released way before the FA Cup in England. But yeah, just thought I'd let you guys know that it's definitely going to stay as 3 PM kickoff for the Scottish Cup final, where Celtic take on Rangers at Hampden, May 25th on the Saturday. Looking forward to that game. Should be a good game. Last game of the season, of course. Big match. Hopefully we can do the double this year with that. Just a quick one, boys and girls, to tell you that we have a new drop available on our website. We have the Brendan Rodgers Pope tee along with the Celtic Ultra t-shirts. Do browse the collection by going down to the link in the description or going to celticapparel.com. Anyway, let's get back into today's video. So, let's discuss the transfer news I want to go through with regards to the goalkeeper, because Celtic actually have reportedly made contact with one of these targets I want to talk about now. So, the main news of today is that Celtic have reportedly composed a shortlist of 3 goalkeepers ahead of the summer transfer window to replace Joe Hart. So first on that shortlist is Standard Liège goalkeeper Arnaud Bodart. The 26-year-old is expected to leave Belgium this summer despite having 1 year left on his current contract. Now, Strasbourg in France has shown interest in the shot stopper in January, but it currently is unclear whether the club remains actively keen on a deal for him this summer. Now, trusted Belgian source Voteball Belge report that a dream transfer beckons for Bodart this summer, with the goalkeeper ready to leave Standard, with both Celtic and Rangers being linked to him. So quite surprising that Rangers are linked to him as well. Of course, their goalkeeper situation is pretty solid right now. Jack Butland probably being their best player all season for them. But I'm sure there's quite a lot of interest in him back in England for sure. So they maybe are bracing for a potential exit for him. Who knows? I don't really care. But quite interesting they are interested in him as well. So further on from this transfer specialist, Peter Rourke has stated that the Hoops have already made feeler contact with Bayer Leverkusen keeper Patrick Pence. Pence, who is currently impressing on loan at Brøndby in Denmark, has become a hot prospect following his solid performances in the Superliga. The 27-year-old keeper was brought in as a replacement at Brøndby after their previous first choice, Mads Hermansen, made the move to Championship outfit Leicester City. Despite his current contract with Leverkusen running until June 2025, the fact that Pence has yet to make an appearance for the Bundesliga champions could see them open to offers for him. With the summer transfer window approaching fast, Celtic could be positioned to secure a deal for the Austrian international, especially now contact has been made. So I know a lot of Celtic fans won't be too happy to hear this. Those 2 targets in particular, of course, they aren't really high-profile names that we've been linked to previously. Of course, Kelleher of Liverpool has been linked, but since he's been a first choice for Liverpool this season, when Alisson's been injured quite a lot, his transfer market value, I'm sure, would have went right up. And he is the third player on our shortlist, of course. Kelleher, he's still on our shortlist, so we're not going to talk too much about him, but he is the third player on the shortlist. And of course, Andrew Lunin as well from Real Madrid. Similar situation to him and Kelleher, both kind of burst into the scene this year, especially Lunin, not really known too much about him before this season. Of course, Courtois was injured. They got Kepa Arrizabalaga in to replace him on loan from Chelsea, but he couldn't really stamp a first team place in the Real Madrid team, and Andrew Lunin has done that since Courtois has been out injured. But the interesting thing about this Pence keeper from Bayer Leverkusen, he's kind of been cited as the next best thing to Kelleher, as the scouts are kind of look at the two players and comparing them together to each other, and he looks like he could be quite a good deal for Celtic if he was to come in through the door. It will be interesting to see what happens this summer with all the moving parts, but long is for sure Kelleher will be leaving Liverpool and Celtic will be buying a keeper. So hopefully, for me personally, my first choice would be Kelleher. I'm sure a lot of Celtic fans would agree with that. But we have to be realistic. We have the money to spend, of course. I mean, if Kelleher costs 30 million, we could theoretically spend that on him. But history tells us that we won't do that. And do we really want to make a £30 million signing for a goalkeeper? I don't think so. But Kelleher would be the best choice for us, I'm sure, and a lot of Celtic fans would agree with that. But we have to be realistic. And if Patrick Pence is reportedly the next best option to Kelleher, I'm all for backing the club and going in for him if they think he's suitable replacing for, first of all, Joe Hart, and a good option if we can't get Kelleher. But I want to know your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video. Are you happy that the Scottish Cup isn't being postponed by a few hours to a later kickoff, or do you think it should be maybe pushed further back to obviously allow fans to watch both games at different times? Let me know your thoughts on that whole situation for sure. And of course, what do you make of the shortlist that we kind of mentioned in today's video of Kelleher, Pence, and Bodart, from Belgium? Let us know what you make of those three goalkeepers that have been linked to the club. Of course, it's going to be very hard to replace Joe Hart. It's going to be sad to see him. His last game will be the Scottish Cup final. Hopefully, he can go out with a double with the league title and the Scottish Cup. That will be a dream ending for him, I'm sure. It's going to be an emotional day regardless. And big gloves to fill, big boots to fill to replace Joe Hart. And the players that I mentioned, don't fill me with too much confidence other than Kelleher. But I will, of course, back the team no matter who they get, and hopefully they can do a good job to fill that void of Joe Hart. Not just in his performances alone, but obviously the personality that he brings to the team. He brings so much more. He brings the leadership to the dressing room, and it's going to be hard to replace him for sure. But yeah, let me know what you make of what we discussed in today's video. As always, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.